I will try to confine my speech to 12 minutes because recently I had very bad experience elsewhere. One speaker was going on, not me, another speaker was going on speaking, and people started leaving the hall. And they left in groups, expressing body language and non-verbal clues. They collected their friends left. Eventually only one person was sitting and listening. And the speaker, having delivered his 2-hour speech, went to the guy and said, "Thank you very much for your profound sense of tolerance." He said, "I am the next speaker, that's why." I'm the last speaker, I'm really grateful. Let me draw on what Dr. Sasish Tharoor said. He talked about the 16% literacy rate at the time of independence. And our literacy rate is very high now. And Kerala, 100% literacy rate. And many are in the state of joblessness. It is not the literacy rate that matters. What matters is functional literacy rate. At the Crystal Palace exhibition in 1887, American goods were the center of attraction. The surprised British industrialists, whose forefathers were primarily instrumental for England emerging as the pioneer of industrial revolution, went to US to see what was going on there. They realized that the functional literacy rate in US was higher than that of UK. Then in the 20th century, when Japanese goods started penetrating the entire globe, both Americans and the British went to Japan to see what was going on there. The functional literacy rate was 98%. What is functional literacy rate? Functional literacy rate is the percentage of literates imbued with enhanced adaptive capabilities and skills to use modern technology and device and to commercialize new knowledge. If the functional literacy rate is very low, I am sure we will never climb the ladder of value addition. If it's of newly industrializing countries, Taiwan, Korea, Thailand, Indonesia, Malaysia, even Malaysia, Singapore, they were all involved in labor-intensive activities. Korea was a leading producer of wig, which I need actually. And they were all involved in mass production of standardized garments. But gradually they climbed the ladder of value addition. Newly industrializing countries did not take place for want of capacity building and capability building. Let us take the example of Singapore. When I was working for UNIDO, we used to rank the countries on the scale of industrial performance. And when we did it for the first time in 2003, with the help of late Professor Sanjay Lal of Oxford University, to our surprise, Singapore topped the list according to 6 parameters. We were just surprised. Singapore is small, it's a small state, entry port state, could stand first. The reason is they have the best national industrial innovation system. In an ideal industrial innovation system, new knowledge is generated by universities, exploited by laboratories, and commercialized by dynamic firms. This is there. Singapore is well known for the best national industrial innovation system. That's why they are at the top. It's very difficult to achieve that degree of national innovation system at the national level, but we can definitely achieve it at the sectoral level. It's quite possible. Now, when we think of the skill development requirements, we have to look at it in the light of the facets of the new industrial revolution. I don't know how many of you are familiar with the famous book, The Third Industrial Revolution by Jeremy Rifkin's. It talks about the increasing role of renewable sources of energy. He says in the next 30 years, the entire pattern of production will be governed by, dictated by renewable sources of energy. He talks about 5 pillars, and 5 pillars are related to renewable sources of energy. I just relate it to the context in Kerala. Kerala has the capacity to produce 38,000 megawatts of solar energy. Of course, solar is an unholy word here now, but the energy is very productive. And nearly 39,000 megawatts of wind energy. 15.5 tons of oil equivalents of biogas. Scientific marvels, technological marvels today prove that waste is not a waste until it is wasted. You can convert bio waste into watts and watts into wealth. Then small hydropower. The saying is that, Kerala has already reached its maximum optimal capacity. No, we have the potential for 400 megawatts. And now I would say potential is very high because now the technology is far advanced. Even from a 3 feet fall of water cannot structure water. You can generate electricity ranging from 25 kilowatts to 1.5 megawatts. This is what the technological marvels give us today. And you name any source of energy. So what should be the response here? Kerala can make optimal use of its renewable sources of energy, and if it is done with systematic efforts, it will be 100% exploited by the year 2050. This is what the report says. So how should the institutions respond? Let me give you one example. When oil was discovered in Norway, there was not even a single oil expert 25 years ago. To make the long story short, today the entire world is going to Norway for oil technology. Both the horizontal drilling and vertical drilling. Again, Saudi Arabia is going to Norway for oil technology. How did it happen? The moment they discovered oil, they got all the relevant departments and institutions empowered in developing a large pool of oil expertise, oil experts. Courses were offered on oil-related devices and technology. I think that should happen here. I cannot think of a single college which offers a course on renewable sources of energy or energy management or energy efficiency. I may be wrong. Get the institutions empowered in the process. And the second one, actually there are many emerging ideas. The second idea is actually postulated by Peter Marsh in his famous book, The New Industrial Revolution. He talks about technology as the key to unlock the development potential. Yes, technological marvels. This is true. Technological marvels and innovation. Mr. Rajesh Srinivasan made a reference to what is happening in China. It is true. What happens when the foreign investors come, government prescribes and proscribes many things. Some professors working in the laboratories attached to the universities are taken to the farm. And they have to work with the transnational corporation for 5 years. They bring them back. You said they leave the academic sector, they go there and they come back to the college. What they do, they convert the laboratory attached to the university into a factory, a dynamic factory. You should see the innovative mindedness of the Chinese. I could see it everywhere in each person. I happened to be near the Great Wall of China. And one day came and said, "What's your name, sir?" I said, "You cannot write my name. It's a very long name, Vinanchi Araji Javamale, which goes from Vienna to India." Within 2 minutes he wrote. And within 3 minutes he gave me a certificate saying that this is to certify that Mr. Vinanchi Araji Javamale climbed the Great Wall of China. I was very happy to get a diploma in climbing the Great Wall of China without climbing a single step. Then looking at my happy face, he said, "Sir, if you give me $5, that was for $1. If you give me $5, I would engrave your name on a metal plate and give it." I just gave him $5. I got the certificate engraved on a metal plate. It decorates my living room. So knowledge is a source, innovation is a force. Here, very quietly, I could see that one small village in China, Puerto village, I went into that village, accounts for 67% of world button production. And 20 years ago, it was a remote village. Today, international exhibition on button producing technology is actually held every year by Italians. What does it show? Another villages account for 68% of type production. And now the way people are combining traditional skills with technology is amazing. For example, is a CL port in Pakistan. They are good at sharpening the metals. And now that village, with no infrastructure, no utility facility, with that village is accounting for 67% of medium range surgical instruments, global production. See that? What does it show? Once you reach the threshold of competitiveness, with enhanced adaptive capabilities, you can reach, your growth will be explosive. Let me put it like that. Once you reach the threshold of competitiveness, your growth will. So how should the institutions respond here? It is important that they establish innovation chairs in the universities. I don't know, Mr. Masara, I don't know whether there are innovation chairs. We have an innovation expert, world-renowned experts sitting next to you, sir. Please appoint him as an innovation chair. for at least 3 months and try to attract the tacit knowledge. Try to attract the tacit knowledge. And we have a huge reservoir of Indian tacit knowledge abroad. We tried several times. Dr. Malcolm Adisesya proposed a planned brain train scheme. Give them some incentives. Incentives should be very attractive. That they should not be able to resist their temptation. This is what precisely Korea did. One of the reasons for Korea for emerging as a newly industrialized country was they introduced a very attractive systems. If some Korean scientists, Korean technocrats, Korean doctors, Korean engineers, if they were earning $10,000 per month there, Korean government gave $12,000. And nice bungalows, excellent hospital facilities, and preferential access to their children for admissions in coveted institutions. The incentive system was very tempting. Most of the Korean doctors, engineers, scientists, they all came back, they worked there and they called it planned brain train scheme. You work here for 10 years and go. To be honest, nobody will come back due to patriotism or whatever it is. You have to create incentive. We may not be able to do that. I was in Zambia recently. I told President Rupa Banda that you have a fantastic thing called Victoria Falls. You go and stand near the Victoria Falls, after 10 minutes you are bored. Or water continues to fall, you stand there, look at the water, what happens? This is what happens whenever I go to Bhutan. So, nothing happens. I said, why can't we construct the African Disneyland and invite the great scientists, engineers, African engineers living in US and Europe, ask them to come here during the summer holidays of the children. And they stay there for nearly 3 months during summer holiday. During that period, they stay with the 7-star ambience is free. That is the incentive. Then request these experts to go and work with relevant institutions. That will make an impact. My kind request to Ambassador Srinivasan is to kindly request is to institute the innovation chair and invite people, great scientists, engineers, doctors and all these people to come and work for 3 months a year. You can rotate it. That will make a big impact. And the last facet of the new industrial revolution is the open innovation. Everything is going to happen in the virtual world. According to one lady called Miss Robin, whom I know, from Sweden. She says in the next 30 years, everything will happen in the open innovation in the virtual world, and there will be value creation network, collaborative. If you are able to turn up a tiny product for a transnational corporation with a high degree of precision, complying with the international standards and quality control norms, you can participate in the global value chain. The last time when I was there at the immigration, everywhere, unless you pay an acceptable price, you cannot propose something from one place to another place. I was at the immigration counter, that guy said, I am going to send you back. And then why, sir? He interpreted month 2 as 7 as 2. This visa was issued in February and you are here in September. No, I got it last week. Then one Indian lady standing behind me said, don't worry, give him $10, give him $10, this is going to be okay. Then I realized that this guy is corrupt. I said, can I talk to your supervisor? He said, gentlemen, my supervisor is going to be more expensive. Then I said, tomorrow I have a meeting with the minister in Abuja. I have to get a connecting flight. Then he didn't believe me. You have evidence? Fortunately, I had a copy. So I got from our unit office there. He saw it and then I used to narrate a very interesting story about the life in Lagos. A very interesting story. In hell and heaven nowadays, they make universal calls. You know, one British guy wanted to talk to Tony Blair. One minute only. Universal calls are costing $6 per minute. This is just fixed. And he called him and said, any bomb explosion anywhere. He said, today everything is okay. He put the receiver down. He paid $6 to the Great Sultan. And then American wanted to call George Bush. And this was before Bin Laden could be killed. And update on Bin Laden. He said, no update is the update on the update. Okay. Then he put the receiver down. Paid $6. Then one day from Lagos when the Great Sultan said, I would like to talk to my relatives. He talked for 2 hours and he paid only $1. The other 2 guys went to the Great Sultan and said, what is this? We spoke for only 1 minute each and we paid $6. And this guy spoke for more than 2 hours and you charged him only $1. He said, hell to hell, local. This is the act. Even there in Lagos, a producer is manufacturing a non-automotive component for Boeing. This is happening. A non-automotive component for Everything is going to happen in the virtual world, and social media is going to play a major role. As Mr. Sashiswaru said, inculcate a sense of optimism. So one lady, everybody talked about the girl who talked about this, how disappointed. It's a giant disappointment. She is doing something for which she should not have completed. It's partly due to parents. Rabindranath Tagore said, your children are not your children. They came from you. They came through you, not from you. Give them your love, not your thoughts. Please go and tell your parents. Ask them not to impose their thoughts on you. You do what you think are the best. As they said, core competence. So far, core competence. Since I have a very good response, let me repeat. Your children are not your children. They came through you, not from you. Give them your love and not your thoughts. And with the permission of my our father Vijay Thomas, who is here, this is the last point I want to make, how to make inculcate sense of optimism to come out of life. One day, a Catholic priest, with the permission of father, I would like to say this. A Catholic priest, Jesus Christ did many miracles. He fed 5,000 persons with the 5 loaves of bread. So one day during the Sunday Mass, by slip of his tongue, a priest said, instead of saying Jesus Christ fed 5,000 persons with the 5 loaves of bread, he said Jesus Christ fed 5 persons with the 5,000 loaves of bread. And he did not realize that he made a mistake there. And then he did not stop there. He said, who can do this? One day got it. And he said, I can do this. The priest dismissed him as an idiot. In each group there will be always a friend. So he said, he dismissed him. And an old lady went to the priest and said, Father, you made this mistake, next week please correct it. So next sermon, he said, Jesus Christ fed 5,000 persons, 5,000 persons with the 5 loaves of bread. Again he did not stop. He said, who can do this? The same man got up and he said, I can do this. Then the priest was annoyed. He said, how can you do it? That sense of optimism, you can make the impossible possible. Thank you.
I